So I'd like to explain why video games are evolutionary hijacks. So this is a concept. You would have to read books on evolution. You would have to read books on decision making or behavioral economics or social psychology or something that would teach you about how the human brain is made and why it's designed to have certain interests. So most recently I've read Drunk by Edward Slingerland. I'm about halfway through the book. I haven't finished it yet, but it just lays out at the beginning of the book what an evolutionary hijack is. And I've read other books that touch on the topic. For instance, I've recently been rereading Supernormal Stimuli by Deirdre Barrett, and she goes into a lot of detail about evolutionary hijacks. That's basically the whole topic of the book. But so basically, what video games are doing to your brain, and I'm not saying that all video games are bad. I'm not saying that you shouldn't play video games. I'm saying that you should second guess yourself and your time that you spend playing video games or really doing anything that's not directly useful to your life. Going to the gym, for instance, I frequently think that people who go to the gym, I'm sure it makes you healthier, and I'm sure you feel better, but it's just, to me, it's undeniable, maybe because I've studied economics, I know about opportunity cost. To me, it's undeniable that if you spend 2 hours a day at the gym, that's 2 hours a day you could have spent doing something else in your life, whether that's working. $40 is like 2 hours of work. You could make $40 a day. That adds up very quickly. You could learn a second language. You could become proficient in German or French or Chinese. 2 hours a day can make a lot of difference in learning a second language. You can go to school. You can try to get a bachelor's degree in accounting or electrical engineering or something very directly applicable to life that will give you a much better life prospect. So 2 hours a day is a very large amount of time that if you have the energy, you can spend improving your life. And so that's basically my basis for saying that video games are an evolutionary hijack. Now, particularly males, but both biological sexes have an impulse to, to be honest, you'd have to realize that humans are made to procreate and to increase the reproductive opportunities and reproductive success of our offspring and ourselves. So it's different for men and women. For women, it's a lot of social support, social status, and there are all kinds of people who go into detail. I forget the name. I've listened to a couple evolutionary psychologists who study under Jeffrey Miller or something, and they will tell you in excruciating detail that half of what females are doing are implicitly competing with each other for status. And but males in particular were designed by evolution to accumulate resources and accumulate status so that we can have more women or higher quality women throughout most of evolutionary history. If you had higher status, more resources, you'd have more wives, or you'd have more children, or your children would be better supported. They'd be healthier. So basically, evolution has designed males to seek status and resources. That's like the bare bones basic of what men are doing in life. The problem is, in the real world, if you go out and, for instance, my distant ancestor was some Mormon pioneer, and he was well known for making, mills, wood mills or something. And basically that's all he would do. He would go to a different town and he would construct giant mill factories. and he specialized in that. And this is the Victorian age, so his whole life purpose, more or less, was finding ways to work more and more and more and more and more. And it paid off. He was a Mormon. He had 7 wives or something, and he had 40 children. And that's kind of the ultimate example of what men are designed to do. We're designed to accumulate resources and status and have a lot of healthy, successful offspring. Now, in the real world, and if you were well-raised or well-educated, this would be maybe common sense, but in the real world, there are plenty of things that you can do with your time. Most obviously, it's just work, but you can specialize in a career. You can learn a second language. Those are the 3 things: work, some type of education or career development, and a second language. Any of these are pretty much the most productive things you can do, absent more direct, clear examples. And so men are designed to just want to develop, to get better at things, and to accumulate resources. Basically, what video games are doing is they're hijacking this tendency of men, and they're basically making you want to, well, it depends on the game, but I mean, you could divide games into 2 or 3 categories. There are RPGs in which you basically level up your character and you grind, you get money and you get levels and experience. And this is obviously a correlate of just working and getting better at some career or some education. So basically we have this impulse to get better at things and to accumulate resources, and video games are basically taking that away and making it a virtual thing. So instead of actually working and getting money, and instead of actually getting better at something, which would in fact raise your status, get you a better job, get you better life prospects, and somehow actually result in you having a better life and more children or healthier children. Instead, a lot of us men are basically just spending tons of time on video games, leveling up characters, and so it's an evolutionary hijack. It's basically taking the system that our brains are designed to do and tricking it into thinking that it's solving this problem in life, accumulating resources and experience and becoming a better person. And as for all these online games, well, the obvious thing is it's competitive and it's cooperative. So men are designed to form cooperative bonds because cooperative bonds help you out in the real world. You have friends who will help you out when you need them. People will appreciate what you can offer, and having a social network is a very important thing for most of evolutionary history. And basically, video games are hijacking that too. Video games are making you think that you have tons of friends that you're cooperating with, and you have you're competing against other tribes, other people, and in the real world, that would partially be useful as long as it's not violent. You would be asserting yourself. You'd be becoming better at something. You'd be proving some type of competitive superiority at something in life that would actually help. But instead, people are spending that time in video games. So essentially, video games are supernormal stimuli. If you were to read Deirdre Brett's work, Supernormal Stimuli, it's 1-to-1. Men are designed to accumulate experience and resources, and we're designed to form cooperative bonds, and we're designed to compete with each other to prove our superiority at things. And all of this, in the real world, would be very useful. They'd lead us to accumulate money and status and wives or children or something useful evolutionarily. And instead, video games are basically making this all a virtual thing. And that's the most like straightforward, simple explanation. Now, there are plenty of great video games that maybe teach you something useful about life. Maybe if you, in your childhood, you play Pokemon and you learn to grind and level up, maybe you apply that later in life and you grind at work and you level up your career, your diplomas. But the vast majority of people who play video games do not necessarily transfer that into the real world. They just play video games. And clearly there is an art form. Clearly there are great narratives in video games. Clearly you can gain some type of life experience or some type of emotional or cultural meaning from video games. And there is a social function to video games. Maybe if you play a lot of Pokemon, you meet people who like Pokemon and that creates social bonds or something. But the simple fact of the matter is that video games are basically hijacking your brain's like natural tendency to want to improve your life. So my advice, I don't necessarily follow this. I'm not like immune to it, but clearly, basically, if you realize that video games are evolutionary hijacks, the solution is don't play video games, or at least play video games knowing fully well that that drive you have to level up your character or to compete online or to meet your friends online is like an evolutionary drive that is designed to like improve your life. And it's if it's in a video game, chances are it's not actually improving your life. Yeah.